Dune Messiah is Frank Herbert's second entry to his Dune series, and it continues the story of Paul Atreides, who was introduced to us in the original Dune. Published in the year 1969, initially as a 5-part serialized entry to the magazine Galaxy Science Fiction, Dune Messiah, with its 337 pages in its paperback edition, is comparatively short. To be more specific, it is the shortest novel of all of Frank Herbert's books in the Dune series, which is likely related to the aforementioned origin in a magazine. In terms of its place on the sci-fi Mohs scale, Dune Messiah shifts more to the softer side, which is mainly caused by the increased frequency and importance of the superhuman properties and feats of Paul Atreides and some of his relatives. These definitely take a toll on the realism in Dune Messiah's plot, although it is worth mentioning that Frank Herbert was able to avoid crossing the line into any territory that undermines the suspension of disbelief. The scope of the world displayed in Dune Messiah is further expanded, specifically by focusing on more factions which are crucial in galactic matters. Furthermore, factions already featured in the original Dune still play pivotal roles in the plot of Dune Messiah, such as the quasi-religious Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit or the Spacing Guild, to name a few examples. Thus, Dune Messiah enriches the series, but only to a certain extent. Obviously, it is not that easy to cleanly distinguish the contributions to the world building and scope of the literary universe between the first and subsequent entries to a book series. The original Dune did the heavy lifting. Nonetheless, Dune Messiah's plot is thus still centered and set in a rich literary universe. In contrast, Dune Messiah falls somewhat short with regards to its originality and novelty. There are interesting aspects, such as the focus on the Tleilaxu, a faction entirely devoted to genetic manipulation, biotechnology, subversion and infiltration, which is then used to pose some questions related to one's own destiny, uniqueness and free will. Also, the plot of Dune Messiah is an interesting take on the trope of heroes, as it basically describes an inverse of the hero's journey, without spoiling too much of the story here. Nonetheless, Dune Messiah is not able to reach the amount of original and novel aspects as its predecessor, which, to be fair, is an unrealistic point of reference to begin with. The extent of the relevant main and side characters in Dune Messiah is somewhat smaller than in the original Dune. There is significant overlap between the characters of the first novel and Dune Messiah, which results in reasonably well-developed protagonists, specifically for such a short book. The newly introduced characters are also for the most part competently written and interesting. There certainly are no obvious quote-unquote writing disasters. Regarding its critical reception, Dune Messiah, at least according to my cursory research, neither won nor was nominated for any of the usual science fiction literature awards and prizes. Feel free to add any that I might have missed in the comments below. In terms of its popular reception, Dune Messiah commands a respectable combined rating of 4.0 out of 5 stars, based on hundreds of thousands of Goodreads, Library Thing and Amazon reviews. As you can expect from any reasonably successful series, Dune Messiah was also adapted in a TV series. Collectively, Dune Messiah and its sequel, Children of Dune, which was published in 1976, were the literary basis for the TV miniseries Frank Herbert's Children of Dune, which itself was the continuation of Frank Herbert's Dune, both of which were produced by the Sci-Fi Channel in the early 2000s. Furthermore, several sources have confirmed that director Denis Villeneuve wishes to adapt Dune Messiah in a third film following his 2 Dune movies. There have also been rumors that Villeneuve is also considering TV series spin-offs to continue the Dune saga. I guess we will have to wait and see what we will eventually get. The plot of Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after the events that transpired in Dune. Hence, at this point, anyone who has not read Dune should be aware that the subsequent plot summary might contain spoilers of the original novel Dune. So beware. We witness a galaxy transformed by the reign of Paul Atreides, who now holds the mantle of Emperor. As the Messiah of the Fremen, Paul's conquests have ignited a devastating holy war, leaving a trail of destruction and loss in its wake. Despite his immense power, Paul finds himself ensnared within the very religion he inadvertently unleashed, unable to control its destructive course. As Paul grapples with the ramifications of his actions, a formidable alliance emerges to challenge his rule, cleverly concealing its plot from Paul's prophetic visions. Caught in the midst of this intricate web of deceit is Paul's wife, Princess Irulan, torn between her ambitions for the Atreides dynasty and her loyalty to the Bene Gesserit breeding program. Unbeknownst to her, her actions jeopardize the life of Chani, Paul's cherished Fremen concubine. While Paul's authority is challenged from outside and from within, his legacy and succession remains an open question of immense importance that requires a definitive answer to avert chaos and anarchy of galactic proportions. Overall, Dune Messiah is a captivating and gripping continuation of the original Dune. It might not reach the same heights in terms of originality and sheer imaginative world building that its preceding novel was able to achieve, but as mentioned before, we have to keep our expectations on a realistic level. One point of criticism that I want to highlight though also relates in a way to the original Dune. In particular, I believe Frank Herbert could and probably should have written an entire novel describing how Paul was able to extend his rule beyond Arrakis and quote-unquote pacify the entire galaxy. These events are only briefly mentioned throughout Dune Messiah and were basically skipped in Frank Herbert's 6 Dune novels. But I guess Frank Herbert had his own reasons, and the absence of this part in the overarching plot of the entire Dune series does not diminish the quality of the existing novels. Thus, Dune Messiah is certainly a good choice for anyone who enjoyed the original Dune. If you liked this video, you may also enjoy the other reviews and content on my channel. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to discuss the novels or if you want to suggest other books that I should review in the future. Please consider upvoting and subscribing, it is much appreciated. Thank you for watching and until next time.